we're matching the resources, because ideally, we want to make sure that the firefighters and our paramedics are there for when somebody's heart stops or when they stop breathing. We don't want them to be distracted on the sprained ankle or whatever.
So what percentage of the time does fire department, first responders get there before y'all get there, on average?
65% last time I looked, which has been, and I can't, that's not specific to River
Right, no,
so
just in
East
general.
Philly may be going, we get there more faster than that.
And is there not a way to leverage that, since they're there on the scene, to triage? I mean, I know you're separate entities and there's probably liability issues, but
No,
to
and
help you discern, you know, what level of person needs to come?
that happens. Sometimes they cancel us outright. If the patient doesn't need care, my wife is diabetic, for example, and you know, if her sugar were to drop and they were able to administer some sugar and get her up and eating, they might cancel the ambulance if she don't want to go to the hospital. So that does happen to some extent today. But again, you all know what a fire truck and the people on a fire truck costs, and while that's a municipality's decision to make, we are not dictating what they do and don't go on. We're also, the system was designed around not adding additional expense to the municipalities for first response necessarily. So, like I said, we do that a little bit today, but we kind of want, as we go through this, it becomes more and more evident that we need to take a close look at being a little bit more tactical in how we do that and the tools that we do that with. So, you know, again, an SUV is one of, you know, it's $40,000 versus $300,000, and the labor is 50% of what would be on an ambulance. So, and nurse triage is the same way. They can answer a lot more calls and deal with patients a lot quicker that way than sending an ambulance out to everybody. So,
Has your membership of the, you know, the annual fee thing, is that getting larger or smaller, or is it significant to the entity or not?
Not hugely. It is beneficial for the individual. I mean, I don't want to, please don't. I personally think it's a good advantage for $69 a year to cover your family. I mean, even if you never use it, I think it's money well spent personally. But it's not in any great number that people typically
It doesn't move you financially?
No, sir. Not really. It has to, by state law, it has to wash. We can't lose money at it, but we typically wash pretty even with what we end up writing off and what we collect in that program. So that is one of the, you know, part of what we run into with the last year. We wrote off $42 million in charitable care from our billings, and that's, you know, a lot of people just don't have the means to pay the ambulance bills and things like that, and we don't ask those sort of questions. Obviously, if somebody's truly having a medical emergency, we want to get to them and make sure that they're cared for. But again, some folks are using that for primary care, and if that's the reality of the day, it's just sort of forcing us to take a look at that and go, okay, well, what's a better way to deal with a person that hasn't gotten their blood pressure medicine filled? Do we really want to respond the same way that we respond when their heart stops? So, and we've got some examples there when you mentioned the response time goals of other areas that have lengthened their low acuity or eliminated their low acuity response time goals also. There's a lot of education that goes into that, even on the dispatch level, from the dispatcher sort of explaining to the patient that's called that, hey, we've determined that you're not experiencing medical emergency. We are going to send somebody to you, but maybe X amount of time to sort of manage those expectations. The pie charts there are kind of that reprioritization that you were asking about. It breaks down kind of from a dispatch perspective how 27% of the calls that come in are deemed to be potentially life-threatening, but when we actually get on scene, around 2% truly are. And then out of what we actually get on scene for, 31% of them don't even go to the hospital, as you were discussing before. And with our system redesign, I think it's been about 2 years now, we introduced BLS ambulances to the system, which are the 2 EMTs I was explaining. Part of our plan with this and